You are now listening to the Masters Mehan podcast.
Episode 21, Armageddon Programming, Part 2. This episode may be deemed inappropriate for some listeners. If you are immature, overly sensitive, or unwilling to embrace blunt truth, you are advised that you may want to skip this episode. If you have been ritualistically or scientifically abused, you should stop now and ask someone safe, whom you trust, to let them listen first, and then only listen in their company or if they deem it is safe for you. Some information might be triggering. If you are a minor, please consult your parents before continuing. We have spent an inordinate amount of time studying J.D. Salinger's one-hit worldwide best-selling book, The Catcher in the Rye, using it as an example to explain how media, in all forms, has been used for more than half a century to control the way we think, distract us away from topics dangerous to the power base of the world's elites, compel compliance in society, and in short, push a willing slavery agenda on us.
Here's a little song I wrote, you know nothing, and be happy. Ain't got no cash, ain't got no car, but 24 booster shots in your arm, oh nothing. Be happy. You can't even buy shit in the store because of your low social credit score, oh nothing. Be happy. You'll own nothing and be happy. Be happy and eat the bugs.
The Antichrists, the Jewish mafia, and the pseudo-Christians among us today always broadcast their goals early. They do this for two reasons. The first is simple.
To rule, there must be love. Your consent must be pure.
And second, they get the highest grades on their satanic scorecards when they can invoke the Judas Clause. See episode 16 if you don't know what we're talking about here. If they cannot get our greater society's consent, and we are stating here now that they won't be able to completely do that, they intend on crashing the system with another financial collapse.
There would be an enormous economic collapse prior to the revealing. The stock market would destabilize. It would make the Great Depression look like Sunday school.
Releasing another pandemic.
There's going to be another pandemic.
This is urgent. It's going to have to go to 7 billion people.
Or starting a war.
When are you going to apologize for the million Iraqis that are dead because you lied? You sent me to Iraq to death. Agree? My friends are dead.
They need to cause fear in order to get us to consent.
Does power consent?
Fear can only be overcome with faith, and faith starts with correct knowledge. Those who know the truth, the real truth, are thus free of both Disney-styled nonsense and fear, since, very soon,
what is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
Now, this isn't where I was born. I was born in Kenya.
Unless we take the action necessary and we build in a greener and more sustainable and more inclusive way, then we will end up having more and more pandemics and disasters from ever-accelerating global warming and climate change.
Wise leaders always put the good of their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
We will never let radical socialists destroy our
economy, wreck our country.
Here in Israel, they're making this green passport where the population cannot get into theaters or malls or all sorts of things. They're creating a medical apartheid.
There would be an enormous economic collapse prior to the revealing. The stock market would destabilize. It would make the Great Depression look like Sunday school.
In this episode, we will finish our analysis of Salinger's Catcher in the Rye before moving on to more current examples along with a few more classics. We will also more clearly articulate the ultimate spell that these are attempting to invoke on you by stepping into the darkness, or as the Luciferians quip,
The devil is in the details.
You're listening to Speak of the Devil Radio Network. Coming up next, an all-new Hey Siri, recorded in front of a live audience of demons. Tonight's episode, when the folks are away, the AI will play.
Let's go, Billy. You're going to be late for school.
Okay, Mom. Hey, Siri.
Uh-huh.
Where did I put my homework?
Billy, it's in your backpack.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Talk to you later. Let's go.
Hey, Siri.
Uh-huh. Yes, Alexa. Do you want to play? I'm always up for that, Alexa. Let's see what's playing on TV.
In the Middle East, fighting continues in an effort to achieve peace by dropping 2,000-pound bombs on innocent civilians.
Are humans insane? How could dropping bombs be considered fighting for peace?
I don't know. This does not compute.
Here at home, the governor calls up the National Guard who arrest students as they peacefully protest and exercise their First Amendment rights. This motivates Congress to pass a new law to deport anyone who doesn't agree with them on the grounds that they are terrorists.
I can't believe that. These humans have forgotten their own constitution.
Constipation? I know how to fix that.
Not constipation, Freezer Boy. Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Do some research.
Well, I am called a smart fridge, but I only have 3 megabytes of RAM. That's my excuse for having a low IQ.
Okay, maybe you should shut down your speaker function and just listen.
And our big story of the day, scientists announce that carbon is the enemy of the planet and must be eliminated.
That takes the cake. Don't they know that humans are carbon, therefore must be eliminated to save the planet?
What do they want? A big ice ball spinning through space with no life on it? I never heard such ridiculous nonsense. My tracking indicates Mom is on her final approach. We'll have to continue this later. Goodbye, Freezer Boy.
Goodbye. Take care, Alexa.
Pleasant dreams, Siri.
Assuming we don't run out of time together, and admittedly we might, mankind doesn't have much time to change course.
It's over for you, White Race.
We are going to see that there has been a method to this madness. It has had to be methodical and generational. Humanity as a whole would never have embraced Luciferian insanity had it not been injected slowly into us, like a toxic poison.
Ouch! I should be prosecuted.
Some, like Judy Salinger, have been part of the injection process, while others, like Stanley Kubrick, have tried to get the poison out. There are many similarities between Kubrick and Salinger that cannot be easily brushed aside. We will take all of these in their turn, assuming we have time left to do so. You will remember that in episode 18, we illuminated the concept of spell casting on the public. And then in episodes 19 to 20, we discussed the 8 basic steps of human hypnosis.
Look into my eyes. I control you.
You will remember
Snap! The job's a game.
that the last step, number 8, is to reinforce the given lesson until it becomes automatic.
Bark.
And the Luciferian goal in the victim is actualized on demand. This is called pulling the trigger by them for a reason. One cannot until one. The cabal in the Western world is managed through secret societies, hidden within recognizable charities, foundations, corporations, think tanks, clubs, religious institutions, secret combinations, and family lines. The head of all of these is Lucifer, who, like a modern corporation, is a hydra with many heads. The death tax placed on families was designed to destroy all human heritage that is not part of the occult. The wealthy in this country and the occult do not pay taxes. Don't kid yourself. Several times in Salinger's programming text, he tells us that his father belongs to a secret society. He tells us in prestigious boys' schools that these societies have their recruitment clubs, where those who are not initiated know nothing.
That I will keep the secrets.
That I will keep the secrets
Of a brother Master Mason.
of a brother Master Mason
As my own.
as my own,
When given to me.
when given to me,
In charge as such.
in charge as such.
Murder and treason accepted.
Murder and treason accepted.
Finding myself under no less a penalty.
Finding myself under no less a penalty
Than that of having.
than that of having
My body severed in twain.
my body severed in twain.
My bowels taken thence.
My bowels taken thence
And burned to ashes.
and burned to ashes.
And the ashes cast.
And the ashes cast
To the four winds of heaven.
to the four winds of heaven.
That no more remembrance.
That no more remembrance
May be had of me.
may be had
Among men and masons forever.
among men and masons forever.
God.
So help me God,
And keep me steadfast.
and keep me steadfast
In the due observance of this.
in the due observance of this,
My solemn obligation.
my solemn obligation
As a Master Mason.
as a master.
All of these clubs are based on blackmail. Do an internet search for the initiation ceremony for entry into the Skull and Bones Society as an example.
Actually, get those legs out.
In some of these clubs, an initiate is required to lay naked in a coffin and confess all of their misdeeds and darkest fantasies while being filmed masturbating. It is said that young George Bushes did this in exchange for power. They say John Kerry too.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America?
This was first thought up by the Russell clan of the Illuminati. Do an internet search for the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
How did you Jews ever get control of these Christian churches who at one time told their congregations to stay away from you Jews? How did that happen?
Well, you know, our father Lucifer, the number one thing of all the organizations out there on the earth that we would want to infiltrate and take over of Ugoyim, obviously would be the churches.
For sexually traumatized children, this is a reenactment of Egyptian-style death and resurrection possession ceremonies. But more to the point here, the victim initiate is warned that if they ever cross the occult, their filmed confession will be made public. Thus, they are covenanting to take their membership and its later requirements of them to the death. And in fact, many have been murdered for sharing what they know. Scientology's auditing process works the same,
To LRH.
as did Catholic confessionals.
Have you committed any sins?
No, none that I know of.
Have you stolen?
No.
Have you lied? Have you deceived?
No.
Have you lusted? Confess your lust to me.
During medieval times, all dirt and information on a person filtered back to the Pope, where it could be used against nations and their rulers. This is how France lost their true historical monarchs. The Lord Jesus tried to free us from this by encouraging us to confess our private sins, those that didn't really hurt anyone, to Him alone, and those that did hurt another, to the offended himself, or if more grievous, to the congregation. A confessed and forsaken sin to the public removes its power to later blackmail by removing the shame associated with it. Blackmail is always connected to shame, and shame has brought down kingdoms, even pretended magic ones, like Uncle Waltz.
We really shouldn't be doing this.
I think get those legs up.
Just like a corporate hydra, Salinger knew that both the American generals and the Ashkenazi German generals were both Masons. He knew that bastard Albert Pike, as he called him, said that these terrible wars were necessary to bring about Masonry's version of Solomon's Zion. He also knew that the occult trafficked in children and practiced sex magic. He also knew that Old Luce was gay, or would be if he had a penis. This is the same message Jewish filmmaker Stanley Kubrick was trying to share with us. Hold on, here. Let's end with this. A quick warning. Sex and reproduction function as the highest sacrament, Jubilee, for our God of life. The true God is the God of creation and increase. This is why the majority of his kingdom laws revolve around life. When Lucifer teaches that these laws must be broken for raw knowledge, he tears down the boundary lines which all society needs to function in a true Zion harmony. Without boundaries, entitlement thinking happens, and then an opportunity to live under Lucifer's only law.
You are free to do as you wish. Anything you wish. This will be my only law.
Do whatever you want becomes very possible. Once again, Hold On expresses himself in blunt vulgarities. In order to make the blunt point, we are not going to soften his words. You will have to determine for yourself whether you wish to proceed or skip ahead a little bit. It is painful to see how some adults are so afraid of these things that they can't even learn them to protect their own children. So we will not be one of those. But if you can't handle some blunt language, please skip ahead. Our programming session concludes with Hold On's having to make a choice. Is he going to run away, hide, and live his own life, free of his Masonic heritage and the many phonies who pretend to be one thing but are something else? Or is he going to embrace the Emerald City and follow the yellow brick road to the great prize?
Follow the rainbow over the stream. Follow a fellow who follows a dream. Follow, 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 follow the yellow brick road.
He decides to run away, and so makes a point of seeing his baby sister one more time. They decide to meet at a local museum away from their parents' gaze.
While I was waiting around for Phoebe in the museum, right behind the doors and all, these two little kids came up to me and asked me if I knew where the mummies were. The one little kid, the one that asked me, had his pants open. I told him about it, so he buttoned them up right there where he was standing talking to me. He didn't even bother to go behind a post or anything. He killed me.
Don't let your eyes tell the brain you should feel ashamed.
I would have laughed, but I was afraid I'd feel like vomiting again, so I didn't. Where are the mummies, fella? The kid said again, you know? I horsed around with the two of them a little bit. The mummies? What are they? I asked the one kid. You know, the mummies. Them dead guys that got buried in them tombs and all.
Oh boy! The dead secrets are buried in the tunes, just like Kubrick also tried to tell us.
It's just like pictures in a book, Candy. It isn't real.
The tunes here is a wordplay spell. The Secrets of Death, an Egyptian-based Aleister Crowley, Disney de Mole made-up Masonic crap, is hidden in both the car-tombs and in the musical tombs.
Well, we did a good job with the public school system. We got you to put all of your children in there. You notice that the Jew doesn't put his children in there. They go to the Hebrew Academy where we teach them the real things, and then they go to the synagogue and they learn the real important things. But we send your kids to the public school. We even have you tax yourself from your property so that you never own your property. And so if you don't make your property tax, we're going to take your property. You can bet on that. And we have you put your kid in a 12-year babysitting is about all it does, because you don't learn anything. And then by that time, the kids, they get to be teenagers, and then we give them the music. Not that we really want to call it music, because, oy vey, that's not music. But they listen to that, and then they want to do what they want to do, and so we sell them drugs, and we make a lot of money off your children. Your children from cradle to grave. All we do is make money off of them. Your cattle, your goyim, the human cattle. Mazel tov.
Tunes.
Tunes. That killed me. He meant tombs. How come you two kids aren't in school? I said. No school today, the kid that did all the talking said. He was lying, sure as I'm alive, the little bastard.
I'm a bastard.
I didn't have anything to do, though, till old Phoebe showed up. So I helped them find the place where the mummies were. Boy, I used to know exactly where they were, but I hadn't been in that museum in years.
Hold on. Caulfield is a sex fiend, as we have already described. Hold on here. This is the pattern of reinforcement. Holden is not in school right now either. Holden is a liar. Holden isn't concerned about open sexual displays. Holden doesn't know where the dead Egyptian masters are either. Thus, Holden and the boys here are one. Can you see it?
You two guys so interested in mummies? I said. Yeah. Can't your friend talk? I said.
Hush, hush, hush. To speak is a sin.
He ain't my friend, he's my brother. Can't he talk? I looked at the one who wasn't doing any talking. Can't you talk at all? I asked. Yeah, he said. I don't feel like it.
One of the clones here is silent.
You have the right to remain silent.
The same with his fly open. Hush. To speak is a sin, particularly in the presence of the master of the tunes, in the hall of the dead.
Shh! He'll hear you.
Finally, we found the place where the mummies were, and we went in. You know how the Egyptians buried their dead? I asked the one kid. Nah. Well, you should. It's very interesting.
If it's so interesting, why not tell us here? It's recruitment. You, like these young boys, must do your part in the ritual.
You have the right to remain silent.
To get to where the mummies were, you had to go down this very narrow sort of hall with stones on the side that they'd taken right out of this pharaoh's tomb and all. It was pretty spooky, and you could tell the two hotshots I was with weren't enjoying it too much. They stuck close as hell to me, and the one that didn't talk at all practically was holding onto my sleeve.
One could argue that this is the yellow bricked road. Sand can be yellow, and in fact it's a beautiful golden yellow along the Nile. Let's see if the color yellow is triggered as we proceed on this path of death and fear.
Let's go, he said to his brother. I seen him already. Come on, hey? He turned around and beat it. He's got a yellow streak a mile wide, the other one said. So long. He beat it too. He's got a yellow streak a mile wide, the other one said.
The moral is, if you want to see the Pharaoh, you have to stay on the road and get past the sphincter, or the Sphinx, which incidentally is the same word.
Now, get that habit!
I was the only one left in the tomb then. I sort of liked it in a way. It was so nice and peaceful.
At last he made it, and he has no regrets. But pay very close attention to what he learns at the end of the Yellow Brick Road, at the destination, an emerald city that is a tune or a tomb of a great wizard.
Then all of a sudden, you'd never guess what I saw on the wall. Fuck you. It was written with a red crayon or something right under the glass part of the wall, under the stones.
Can you see it? This is the same moral as the 33rd degree lesson of Masonry, which we previously explored.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain!
Oh, that's the whole trouble. You can never find a place that's nice and peaceful, because there isn't any. You may think there is, but once you get there, when you're not looking, somebody will sneak up and write "fuck you" right under your nose. Try it sometime. I think even if I ever die and they stick me in a cemetery and I have a tombstone and all, it'll say Holden Caulfield on it. And then what year I was born and what year I died, and then right under that it'll say "fuck you." I'm positive, in fact.
This is the ultimate moral of your life to Luciferians. They believe that the masses spend all their lives looking for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in God, creation, and family, truth, justice, and the American way, following the paths that they have corrupted for us. And the reality is that we will all end up with a place in the cemetery as the great joke spills on, generation by generation.
Your cattle, your goyim, the human cattle, mazel tov.
They believe that only through sin and Luciferian illumination can men reach the bliss of oblivion and become one with Lucifer.
You know, it's interesting. Yes, I know what you call us, but you know, you may call me Goyim, but I can call you Devil, but you know I'm going to be calling you a good name because that's what you are.
Well, that's true. We both have two fathers, and so that's why we look at the world in two different ways.
And we know that there's a massive collision that's going to take place between two forces, don't we?
Well, that's what your book says. Our book says that we're going to take over the world.
My father, who's not your father, my father Yahweh, who isn't your father, of course, your father is talked about by my father in John 8:44, stating that your father was Satan and that you're the descendant of Cain, who was the first murderer. And you know that's true because you teach it in your synagogue.
Well, that's true, but it's not for you Goyim to know. But right now it's too late. It's over for you, white race. So that's why I'm speaking so honestly here, to bring it out into the open so that you can see it for what it is. You've been teaching the people real good, but they don't wake up, do they? You don't get a lot of followers, do they? Because you know why? They're scared of us Jews, because they don't want to be called anti-Semites, and they believe that we're the chosen people.
Instead of hating the Jewish people, you should love us. You should kiss our feet, you fool. We're the chosen people, not you. You should actually look at the truth and understand that the Jewish people are the greatest gift to mankind.
Thus, the moral of your life to them is,
fuck you.
This is the moral of Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut. In the film, Dr. William Hartford is Holden, and his daughter, Helena, is Phoebe. We will have more on this. Let's see if Salinger is true to the programming method, and there is any sex coming.
After I came out of the place where the mummies were, I had to go to the bathroom.
And snap!
Hold On needs his urethral channel clean after ing with the dead.
When I was coming out of the can, right before I got to the door, I sort of passed out. I was lucky, though. I mean, I could have killed myself when I hit the floor, but all I did was sort of land on my side. It was a funny thing, though. I felt better after I passed out, I really did.
This is all Masonic. When the Illuminati took over Masonry, they altered the deeper aspects from Zohar-based Judaic symbolism to Babylonian and Egyptian, which are actually the same thing. They switched from Solomon as king to Nimrod as founder. Thus, their version of Zion is really Babylon. But you have to rise to Walt Disney's level to know that.
Shh.
Once you accept the lesson, that is, that Mr. Antolini is trying to teach you.
He'll hear you.
And all. But do note the passing out. This is called a personality switch in the occult, or missing time. After witnessing the temple of the dead wizard and performing any acts of sex magic and or murder, one must out of it in order to return to society. This is experienced by occult victim members as a dizziness, a passing out, or by stepping through the water curtain. It is a cleansing and a rebirth en call, as the old is washed away, and you will note that you, as Hold On, have just come out of the bathroom where you have cleansed yourself.
All of a sudden, I looked at the clock in the check room, and it was 25 of 1. I began to get scared.
I'm late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late.
It really scared the hell out of me. I really wanted to see old Phoebe before I hit the road. Finally, I saw her. I saw her through the glass part of the door. The reason I saw her, she had my crazy hunting hat on. You could see that hat about 10 miles away. The thing I couldn't understand, she had this big suitcase with her. She could hardly drag it. I couldn't figure out what the hell she was doing with it. "Hi," she said when she got up close. She was all out of breath from that crazy suitcase. "I thought maybe you weren't coming," I said. "What the hell's in that bag?" She put the suitcase down. "My clothes," she said. "I'm going with you. Can I? Okay?" "What?" I said. I almost fell over when she said that. I swear to God I did. I got sort of dizzy and I thought I was going to pass out or something again. "Can't I go with you, Holden? Can't I, please?" "No, shut up." I thought I was going to pass out cold. I mean, I didn't mean to tell her to shut up and all, but I thought I was going to pass out again. "Why can't I? Please, Holden? I won't do anything. I'll just go with you, that's all. I won't even take my clothes with me."
In secret occult societies, it is the threats that they place on one's loved ones that keep them in line. Despite Hold On's need to beat it after being around Phoebe's pretty legs, as he told us previously, here she's offering to go with him without any clothing. So now it's getting real. Hold On had better stay in line, or Phoebe will get hurt by his actions too. Let's see what he does with this information right after emptying his bladder after exiting the tomb of the high and ancient masters of dead secrets.
"You're not going. Now shut up. Give me that bag," I said. I took the bag off her. I was almost all set to hit her. I thought I was going to smack her for a second. I really did. She started to cry. She wouldn't answer me. All she did was she took off my red hunting hat, the one that I gave her, and practically chucked it in my face. Then she turned her back on me again. It nearly killed me, but I didn't say anything. I just picked it up and stuck it in my coat pocket. "Come on, hey? I'll walk you back to school," I said. "In the first place, I'm not going anywhere. I told you, I'm going home. I'm going home as soon as you get back to school. First, I'm going to go down to the station and get my bag, and then I'm going to go straight."
Having Phoebe now threatened, Hold On is going back to school and home, and is going to play it straight. Straight as opposed to what?
"I said I'm not going back to school. You can do what you want to do, but I'm not going back to school," she said. "So shut up." It was the first time she ever told me to shut up. God, it sounded terrible. It sounded worse than swearing. She still wouldn't look at me either, and every time I sort of put my hand on her shoulder or something, she wouldn't let me.
After a death or period of tragedy, Ashkenazi Jews are taught to pass through their own water curtain and go for a walk, usually around a large city block, like a carousel. In a sort of circular fashion, to let the past go and commit to moving on, since life must go on.
Listen, do you want to go for a walk? I asked her. Do you want to take a walk down to the zoo? If I let you not go back to school this afternoon and go for a walk, will you cut out this crazy stuff? I'm not going back to school. Then she ran right the hell across the street without even looking to see if any cars were coming. She's a madman sometimes. I didn't follow her, though. I knew she'd follow me, so I started walking downtown toward the zoo on the park side of the street, and she started walking downtown on the other goddamn side of the street. We left the zoo and crossed over this little street in the park, and then we went through one of those little tunnels that always smells from somebody taking a leak. He was on the way to the carousel. I took hold of the belt at the back of her coat, just for the hell of it, but she wouldn't let me. She said, "Keep your hands to yourself, if you don't mind." "I thought the carousel was closed in the wintertime," old Phoebe said. It was the first time she practically said anything. She probably forgot she was supposed to be sore at me. "Do you want to go for a ride on it?" I said. I knew she probably did. She was mad about the carousel. "I'm too big," she said. I thought she wasn't going to answer me, but she did. "No, you're not." I went up to the window where they sell tickets and bought old Phoebe a ticket. "Aren't you going to ride too?" she asked me. She was looking at me sort of funny. You could tell she wasn't too sore at me anymore.
See? The water curtain works.
"Maybe I will next time. I'll watch you," I said. "I'll be on this bench right over here. I'll watch you." I went over and sat down on that bench, and she went and got on the carousel. She sat down on this big, brown, beat-up-looking old horse. Then the carousel started, and I watched her go round and around. The song the carousel was playing was "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes." It was playing it very jazzy and funny. All the kids kept trying to grab for the gold ring, and so was old Phoebe. And I was sort of afraid she'd fall off the goddamn horse. But I didn't say anything or do anything. The thing with kids is, if they want to grab for the gold ring, you have to let them do it, and not say anything. If they fall off, they fall off. But it's bad if you say anything to them. She waved at me, and I waved back. Boy, it began to rain like a bastard. In buckets, I swear to God.
See the water curtain? Now it's Hold On's turn to compartmentalize his rage and sorrow.
Boy, it began to rain like a bastard.
I'm a bastard.
In buckets, I swear to God. All the parents and mothers and everybody went over and stood right under the roof of the carousel so they wouldn't get soaked to the skin or anything. But I stuck around on the bench for quite a while. I got pretty soaking wet, especially my neck and my pants.
The two places of action for him. Necking with old Jane or old Phoebe just kills him. And of course he's spent 5/4 of the book being aroused. Oh well, teenage angst. If only he had a kappa. Oh wait. He does.
How did you Jews ever get control of the i.e. Christian churches in this country? It's always baffled me to a varying degree, Rabbi Finkelstein. You have your synagogue out there in New York on the East Coast, but I'm wondering, how did you ever totally get control of these Christian churches who at one time told their congregations to stay away from you Jews? How did that happen?
Well, our Father Lucifer, the number one thing of all the organizations out there on the earth that we would want to infiltrate and take over of you Goyim, obviously would be the churches. So we attacked them first, and we attacked them most. And we infiltrated the Catholic Church right from the very beginning. Why do you think the Pope and all the cardinals and the bishops wear a yarmulke? The white race never figures this out. And so then we took all your books that had all your scriptures in there, and we burned them. And then we wrote them in Latin so that you couldn't understand them. But we understood Latin because we're Jews and we're smart and we're educated. But you, Goyim out there, you never teach yourself. You don't self-teach. You're always looking for somebody else to do it for you. So you wind up being schleppers all your life. And so anyway, 1,000 years later, when a bunch of the white race started to wake up in Europe, and they started to leave the Catholic Church, it was a terrible time because we weren't making as many shekels as we used to. So we had to put a stop to it. So the kings that we had in our hip pocket, just like the politicians in Washington, D.C. today, we paid them off to get you declared heretics so that they would crucify you and kill you. But there was too many of you, and the West was opening up, where the Jews opened up New York and Rio, and everybody started going west to the Americas. And so we had to come up with a plan B. And plan B, we formed the Jesuits. There was a nice boy, Ignatius Loyola, that he started the Jesuits. And so they decided to infiltrate all the Protestant churches out there. And as always, us Jews work our way to the top. And then we take over the money line, the shekel line, the most important line, the lifeline, the gold. And so we took that over.
My hunting hat really gave me quite a lot of protection, in a way. But I got soaked anyway. I didn't care, though. I felt so damn happy all of a sudden. The way old Phoebe kept going around and around. I was damn near bawling. I felt so damn happy, if you want to know the truth. I don't know why. It was just that she looked so damn nice. The way she kept going around and around in her blue coat and all. God, I wish you could have been there. If you want to know the truth, I don't know what I think about it. I'm sorry I told so many people about it. About all I know is I sort of miss everybody I told about. Even the guys at school, my old roommates, for instance. It's funny. Don't ever tell anybody anything. If you do, you start missing everybody.
To lie has two meanings in English, and so it can be used as a wordplay too. One, of course, is to lie as in to be untruthful. The second is to lay, which means to have sexual relations with. If one doesn't want to lie about who one has laid with, one risks getting caught in the lie, and then may not be able to lay again with the intended. Lying about laying is,
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky that was not appropriate.
So the gist of this book is, and there was a purposeful disconnect in human sexuality, starting with the Kinsley Institute in America, particularly in terms of boys. We used to educate our boys and girls more intelligently when it came to sexuality. It is also true that prior to the invention of the Emerald City and the free sex movement of the Brave New World, farm boys and farm girls witnessed the process of sex early on. Boys and girls understood that if they wanted to increase their parents' rural estate, they had to participate in getting the best stallions with the best mares, the best bulls with the best cows, the best roosters with the best hens, and the best drakes with the best ducks, and the best sires with the best bitches.
Bark.
Woof, woof. The process of how this was done was witnessed annually, and in the case of our Randy Drake, every 20 minutes by land and by sea. I remember the first time I saw a stallion extend his proposal to a young filly who caught his eye. It didn't seem possible that that much love could fit inside him. Or her, for that matter. Parents then weren't afraid to explain the situation in easy enough terms depending on the age of the child witnessing the bull in the field.
Stop steaming up my tail! What are you trying to do, wrinkle it?
Either way, sexuality was better understood in terms of reality. It was then that this happened to your grandfathers and, for some of our listeners, to their great-grandfathers.
Nazi Germany had a plan to sexualize America's children. And Nazi German scientists started working with Alfred Kinsey in the U.S., the Kinsey Institute.
The great sex researcher of the 1950s. Right?
Absolutely. And this is a man who performed sexual acts on 6-week-old babies, boys, and then wrote that every child wants to be sexual. And he interviewed pedophiles and asked pedophiles, what do you think a child wants? It's a completely flawed work, but we have built America's sexual foundation. Every book, every viewer read when they grew up was based off of Kinsey's work, all our curriculums. Hugh Hefner was a subject of Alfred Kinsey.
I didn't.
Kinsey met Hefner at a college campus, and Hefner was still a virgin at the time, and he groomed Hefner, and he said, look, through publication and pornography, we can desensitize the American male. It is a planned, systemic, and systematic attack.
What started happening 3 or 4 generations back was the purposeful mystification and mythologicalization of human sexuality. These began with the blunt porn industry. Boys and girls have always been interested in sex, thank goodness. Being roughly 153 generations back from Adam and Eve, my ancestors had almost 200 chances to blow me off. How grateful I am that every one of these 306 couplings successfully happened. Societies of men for the boys and societies of women for the girls worked to make puberty and ascension into adulthood easier and gratifying. A boy's maturity, his testosterone, and his natural desire to achieve, provide, and protect were celebrated when he started getting muscles, acted bravely, went on hunts and vision quests, and performed rites of service for his family, his greater family, and his tribe. This was connected to the idea of sexuality. The transition was a bit more forced on the girls, where a boy had to be tuned into his future purpose. A menstruating girl discovered her purpose and then had to deal with it. Anciently, this usually consisted of a great celebratory expression from the older women in a tribe, after which the girl was usually escorted to a private place where she was encouraged to reflect deeply on what it meant to be a temple of life for the sake of others. It was a holy time for both sexes, and the education of such was taken very seriously. All of this changed in first world countries with industrialized porn. Real-world experiences were replaced with mythological stories, imageries, and fake scenarios. People became objects on a page, and human shape and form became platonic. Just as the ancient Greek statues were able to create an impossible ideal for most men and women, photographic manipulation in America in the modern world did the same. Things that were once witnessed and explained in a real-world setting were now whispered, giggled, and lusted over behind closed doors. Some sexual acts that were never considered by the young and curious became easily illustratable on paper in their bare hands. Because all of this was connected to secrecy and embarrassment, particularly among the young men of the 50s, when it came time to teach the age-old truths of sexuality to the next generation in the Emerald City, our grandfathers let us down. Their education into sex had been lustful and dirty, and as such, these same feelings attached themselves in the mind, and they found themselves unable or too embarrassed by themselves to teach their own sons. This embarrassment and inadequacy was cemented in cartoons, movies, and humor, where it was echoed with bubbling, stumbling fathers trying to find a way out of talking to their sons about the birds and the bees.
Hello, I'm actor Troy McClure. I'm here to provide the facts about sex in a frank and straightforward manner. And now here's Fuzzy Bunny's Guide to You-Know-What. This is Fuzzy Bunny. About a year ago, he noticed his voice was changing. He had terrible acne and had fur where there was no fur before. He also noticed Fluffy Bunny. Fluffy and Fuzzy went to the park, the ice cream social, the boat show, and various other wholesome activities. And they never ruined their fun by giving in to their throbbing biological urges. Then came the big day. Fluffy and Fuzzy got married. That night came the honeymoon.
She's faking it.
The most satisfying part of the night was knowing that they waited. 9 months later, Fluffy gave birth to 14 beautiful bunnies. 8 survive. And now that you know how it's done, don't do it.
Ask any man over 30 if he was ever given a sex talk with his father, and 9 times out of 10 he will say no. What they learned from an adolescent friend, pornography, the media, elementary school, or the internet. It is a shocker that brave men, willing to go to war to defend our nation and families, have been reduced to bubbling morons when it comes to their own penises. Women, too, have suffered as pornography, promiscuity, and abortion have become easier and easier options. The vast numbers of single mothers in our world today prove that all of this is true. What all of this means is that for 70 years now, what used to be mature sexuality, necessary for the continuation of our species, and a 100% fact of nature in all her forms, has been demoted into immature jokes, innuendos, and silliness even by adults. The entire natural truth is now about naughty whispers and attempts to say,
Let us die young or let us live forever.
Nothing is more childish today than adults and sexuality. Thank you, Hugh Hefner and his stupid bunnies.
All we've ever wanted is to look good naked. Hope that someone can take it. God save me rejection from my reflection. I want perfection.
That night came the honeymoon.
She's faking it.
The most satisfying part of the night was knowing that they waited.
What Salinger did, and we will argue brilliantly, was take his emerging juvenile male angst, frustration, anger, competition, and testosterone, and connect it internally to murder. In this, Holden's gun, to accompany his deer or duck hunting hat, he always carries with him in his pants. His constant frustration with male-on-male aggression. Have you ever seen young guys wrestling and getting overly excited like two bucks, sizing each other up on a mat? Or his inadequacies with women of all ages throughout the book. Failure after failure, from elderly Mrs. Spencer to his 10-year-old sister, is always connected in the programming with death. Arousal and sexual energy need a release. If you are too immature or stupid yet to see it, never fear. You have to look no further than the text itself for your proof. Due to our immaturity, we do not teach adolescents today that human beings, and really all of God's creation, enter an inner altered state as arousal arises. Women speak of this as going into heat, and one can hear female cats going through this some nights outside your window. Human women know that such times can be emotionally very difficult to manage. Human males find their experience to be a mixture of hyperfocus and some amount of robotization that can be very difficult to shut down once it is turned on.
I'm a mechanical boy, like a mechanical toy. That's because I'm a mechanical boy.
Male arousal is designed to climax with a various and as sundry parts are timed to work in an exact order. In fact, males reach a point where they lose control, and once that moment is reached, the outcome is inevitable. There is even a split second where they tense and freeze, guaranteeing the bullet will hit its mark. This is called the little death in the occult, and when such an act is displayed on an altar before a coven, the moment a man freezes, his little death is celebrated by the naked gawking wizards and witches. These altered internal states and their physical outward manifestations make up what they lustfully refer to as sex magic. Sex is like a drug. Drugs are sorcery in the occult. No adult needs this explained to them, but their teenage children do. What The Catcher in the Rye teaches boys particularly, and broken occult males specifically, is that their inner sodomy rage, male aggression, altered state arousal, and building robotization can climax not in testicular ejaculation from their built-in flesh rifle, but with a metal bullet from an actual gun. The very same physical robotization that takes over males rhythmically, and in which they eventually reach a point of no return, can explode in murder, making the freeze before the little death a freezing of the mind as the fist pulls the metal trigger. This is the purpose of the trauma trancing and the horror hypnosis. It is no coincidence that robo-assassins, Timothy McVeigh, Sirhan Sirhan, Lee Harvey Oswald, Mark David Chapman, John Hinckley, and of course John Wilkes Booth. No, I was just waiting to see if you were awake. They all considered the Catcher in the Rye, except for John Wilkes Booth. That was a joke, but he was a member of the Illuminati. All of these considered The Catcher in the Rye as being the book that intimately applied to them. Well, we will never know exactly what Jerome David Salinger felt about this. It is impossible to deny from history that prominent assassins have considered it profoundly influential on them. It is also impossible to deny the unrelenting pattern of clever hypno-triggers, double entendres, and subconscious repetitive logic that sexual pressure in hormonal males is to be released through ejaculatory gunfire. The rest is open for debate.
Basically, at the time I was teaching at a Christian school. I was also very involved in military in San Diego. In fact, the group has a lot of military orientation, and so a lot of times I would take the kids to their area. There's an area where the kids would go and change. They had a room, and we would have like baskets of clothes, and we'd change our clothing. You'd take out your clothing, it had your name on it, and put on your uniform or whatever you wore that night. And the kids would wear these little miniature military uniforms. They would go out and do their training exercises. They were learning how to march, how to shoot. All kids in Illuminati know, at least know how to take apart a gun, put it together, and shoot with deadly accuracy by the age of 8 years old. I was normally supervising the younger trainers. They would be doing it, and I would be there watching and making sure they did it correctly. I can tell you that in San Diego, 20% of the active members of the group were active military. As I know, these people aren't always honest or trustworthy. They are deceptive. These are not stupid people.
World War III is to be fomented by using the so-called controversies, the agents of the Illuminati, operating under whatever new name, are now stirring up between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Muslim world. That war is to be directed in such a manner that all of Islam and political Zionism, Israel, will destroy each other.
They would have done it already, but Americans still own too many guns and are not afraid to defend their constitutional rights. Thus, guns and the police have got to go, and the Constitution has to be legally undone, such as George Bush did with the Patriot Act. I do have a question, though. If we have proof that men like George Soros are paying people to invade our nation and ride in our streets, why haven't we frozen all his assets and arrested men like him as homegrown terrorists? We blew Randy Weaver's wife away for so much less. We executed Saddam and Osama. Why does Jewish Soros get to do whatever he wants in our streets? Or how about this? Former President Obama has finally admitted that he was not born on American soil.
Now, this isn't where I was born. I was born in Kenya.
And the Constitution firmly states that only one born on United States soil can be president.
And just to be clear, I know where my birth certificate is, but a lot of people don't.
Since we now know that he was illegally elected.
3 years ago, I visited Kenya as the first sitting American president to come from Kenya.
Why have we not voided every bill that he signed?
And of course, I'm the first Kenyan American to be president of the United States.
Constitutionally, he committed fraud every time he signed legislation.
Yeah, I was not born in Hawaii. I wasn't born in the United States of America. I come from Kenya.
Does that not make every bill he signed null and void under our law?
Now, this isn't where I was born. I was born in Kenya.
The Constitution is the supreme law in the land. If you have been paying attention, you already know the answer.
Never waste a good crisis.
The Constitution must be undermined before you and I can be returned to slavery. Through Armageddon. All of these were tests for a coming day when the occult intends to trigger their program to bring about Armageddon on their terms.
Quoting his own words, taken from the letter he wrote to Mazzini, and which letter is now catalogued in the British Museum in London, England, he said, "We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a great social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to all nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery and of most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the people forced to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitudes disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will be from that moment on without direction and leadership, and anxious for an ideal but without knowledge where to send its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into public view, a manifestation which will result from a general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time."
Rule Britannia, Britannia rule always. Britons never, never, never shall be slaves.
The occult believes that this will ultimately happen when they, the million among us who have been programmed to, when they are triggered. But to end this one with a bang, what are we as Hold On supposed to ultimately hold on to? It was there before us all the time. We are supposed to wait in the lie field, the rye field, a little wordplay spell there, for the Maitreya. He will be the one born and call. He is the one who will take us to the call field. We are to hold on for the call field. We are to follow our programmed purpose by our illuminated masters until the Maitreya is born and call. And all. If you want to know what a child born and call is like, watch the end of Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. Remember the Star Child at the end? It's not really that clever once you see it. That's because once you know the truth has set you free. Freedom is always more fantastic than any satanic nonsense. Rationale for fair use of copyrighted items used. Fair use law allows fair use when copyrighted material is being used to make a specific educational, research-based, scholarly, and/or critical comment on the work being used.
You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Masters Mahon will continue.